Welcome to the podcast. This is episode 1. Strange to say. This is episode 1 of something new. Run. It's not open up. This is Run. Today, Paul Athoe dropped Tears to Waves on all streaming sites, DSPs, whatever you want to call them. And he's here with me today, obviously. So, Paul, welcome. Thank you for coming on, being on the first episode of Run. This is a new experience for all the listeners, for me personally. This is where we dissect your album and talk about everything about it. So first of all, how you doing?
Doing well, man. So Run, the pilot episode.
Right.
That's fantastic.
Right, yeah. You gotta start it off right.
Absolutely. That being said, one thing I want to make sure we do before we get into anything else is start our conversation with gratitude. So I think it's important that we highlight the work you've done for the city of Buffalo.
Word.
with the platforms you've given people across the board.
Thanks, man.
Not only limited to the hip hop space, but everybody doing their thing across the board. And one thing I've always appreciated about you is no matter who the person is, what they're doing, your overall vibe is I wish you well. So that's cool.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of, as you know, there's a lot of negative energy that walks hand in hand with what we do.
Of course.
That energy is a great space to live in.
Word.
You do a cool thing for the city, so.
Man, thanks. I appreciate that.
No doubt.
Getting flowers is always great. I'm give you some flowers too. Say start with gratitude. Paul is, reason that my music has taken the next step. He signed me to Greenhouse Project very early on.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 2014, 2013.
Wild.
A while ago. Right, it really is. Yeah, it's 2020 now. That's like 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
So
crazy how time flies.
Yeah, man.
Feels like yesterday.
Right.
You were one of two first people we signed. We signed two people at the same time, but you were of the first people to be signed.
Right. Who was it? Me and Reese.
It was you and MX.
MX. Okay. Word.
Yeah, for different reasons too. It was MX because the kid could rap his ass off, and it was you because it was like he checks a lot of boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a following that's bigger than 95% of people I've seen. So. I mean, all those things come together, make it great.
Right. True. So with that being said, Greenhouse Project is no more.
Right. Something
that's, in the past, it's a relic at this point. It sits in the Buffalo Music Hip Hop Hall of Fame at this point, I feel like. And kind of like that, what year would you say that kind of like dissolved? Because we were doing some things with, other artists coming. We signed one more artist, and that was like the end of Greenhouse Project.
Yeah.
What year was that? Like 2017?
I would say 17, 18.
Yeah.
Never was there like an official dismissal.
Right.
And quite frankly, I think it might deserve that, right? But I think it's just been stagnant for so long, and it became
it's just a little closer to you too.
Yeah, absolutely. It became this overall sense of, I like to think my voice is booming enough, and I've talked into enough mics.
It probably is, but
but nonetheless, so the exit of Greenhouse Project for me was really this general idea of I got to help myself before I can help 6, 7, 8 other people, right? And at the same time, and this is not a shot at anybody by any means, but there was a lot of times when I felt like I wanted things for that person more than they wanted for themselves.
Right.
And that's a tough space. And, to sum up the gist of it, long story short, it's until I'm where I want to be, and that is exceedingly farther than I am right now, I can't offer you anything until then. Right. All my resources, all my time has to go into myself. Because when that was a thing, it was different times for me. I didn't have my daughter yet, or she was, in the infant stages. Just takes up a lot more of my time now, right? Between that, the business I work in outside of music, I only have X amount of time to delegate, and having to divide that amongst, however many other people just became more of a chore than it did enjoyable for me.
Right.
But don't regret anything about it. And I think there were times when we had a roster that I would put up against any collective in the world. Genuinely mean that and say that with no hesitation. And I think if we maybe were in a space where I had like staff, people to help me do this, where it wasn't just me being solely hands-on, I think it would have been a different story. But at the same time, would the people I have brought in as quote unquote staff been able to do what I could do for them? Probably not. So
have the same like wherewithal.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, at the end of the day, just back to a general focus on myself and what I'm doing.
Gotcha.
And I say that is in the most unselfish way as possible, but that's the reality of it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. You can't really, sugarcoat anything like that. So this is really your first time back in the scene since Patience.
Yeah.
And Patience dropped in 2015.
Yeah.
So that's 5 years ago.
Yeah.
What took you so long?
So that's a fantastic question. So the reality of it, what took me so long, I would say short answer, financial reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that, as well as anybody, it cost a lot of money to release a project, let alone a 17-track project.
Right. And something that you didn't just like throw together.
Right.
Like you just didn't write this last night.
Yeah. So I think 5 years to me is the cool part about it is you get a collection of my thoughts, emotions, just my overall energy from 2015 up to 20.
Right.
And throughout the album, you see evolution of the person, of the man. Because a lot's happened in that time, right? So, I had my daughter. I broke up with her mother, started dating someone else, bought a house, moved into that house, transitioned my space where I'm at in my professional career outside of this. So a lot's happened. So I'm talking to you from a lot of different angles over the course of the album. But I think that's what makes it a great album.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it's like a movie or a book about the last 5 years of my life. And I touch on all those things. But to get back to your question, what took so long, that's really it. If a label came to me and said, here's $100,000, make us an album, I'll give it to you tomorrow.
Right.
But just life happens, right? So, but at the end of the day, I think everything happens for a reason. What better time than right now?
Right.
Everyone's sitting at home, consuming content.
Right.
Let me give you this classic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And a classic it is. Like I'm gonna go ahead and say it. We've listened to this album for like the past 2 years.
Yeah,
like
you specifically probably recorded pieces of this album in 16, 17.
Yeah, for sure.
And you've just been sitting on them.
Right.
And we just had to acknowledge amongst ourselves, this is going to smoke everybody when it comes
do
out.
You know that there's fire on your computer.
Right.
I think that's the reason it crashed last time.
Right.
But before we get into this, I just want to say it one more time. I'm really glad to have you on this thing. I've been wanting to get you on the show, and what better way to do it than an album release? Oh
yeah, it's been the vision the whole time. Like
I know.
As soon as TTW is ready, our first stop on our press run is Son Scotty's podcast.
Right.
Yeah, he's got the exclusivity. Is that the word?
Yeah, that's a word.
He's got the
for
rights.
Sure. All right, man. So let's get right into it. This is track 1. This man gives you spoken word out of nowhere with the ambient sounds in the background. This is called Waves Crash. Now we're not gonna play the whole song. We're gonna give you like a clip.
Waves crash on shores all around the world. If you haven't noticed, every time I've talked about this game, her love has been my muse. I love her. That's my girl. Tears to waves. Here's the change. Funny how the more things change, the more they stay the same. Hope all this time I've struggled, it wasn't in vain. All this pain and suffering. I've blown up damn near every single bridge that was ever put in front of me.
Talk about the game being your girl. What do you mean? What does that feel to you like?
Oh man, there's relationships in my life that have a lot of value, and they are, obviously certain people, and then it gets to a point where it's weird, but a inanimate object, a thing, holds that same place. So like if you were to make up my heart, right, and draw it on a piece of paper, a part of it belongs to music, it belongs to hip hop.
Sure.
So when I say that's my girl, I mean that in a very protective way. I'm passionate about it. I love it. It keeps calling me back to it no matter where I go in life. And at the same time, like I said, I'm like a keeper. I'm like protective. Don't do that to hip hop. That's how I'm treating some people. Don't do that to hip hop. Like, you know, like, just like, I feel like you were looking at my girl wrong. What are you doing? Don't be looking at her like that. Like, you know, some of these people, what they do with it, how they treat it, it's like, you just gotta, I'm just protective of it. So it's just this overall sense of belonging and walking hand in hand in the space of hip hop, in the space of music, and this overall sense of a keeper of the culture that coordinates with that.
Got you. You say you blew up damn near every bridge that was ever put in front of you.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
It is.
It sounds destructive too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. So it's not even necessarily
like, it's not like a cool thing.
It's not necessarily a good thing. But I think it's just a matter of I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm very passionate. I'm very driven by emotion, maybe to a flaw in some degrees. But it's like, if I'm working with somebody or have worked with somebody, all it takes is one miscalculation on their behalf. One thing I don't like, one thing I disagree with, and that's it for me. I don't care to continue building. I don't care to continue the relationship because you've done something I disagree with, and I don't look at really anybody as someone like I need them or else I'm not going to be able to be successful. So yeah, that's really it when I say that. It's act accordingly. Otherwise, we, you know, no hard feelings, but we're not going to be in the same space.
Got you.
Yeah.
That's all we're going to play for track one, but later on you say, you got me effed up. If you think that I'm anything less than great, if you think that I'm anything less than Drake, is Drake, because you call him out, you know, specifically, is he someone that, like, you're chasing, like, his plateau, or like...
Exactly. That's okay. You hit the nail on the head with the hammer with that one. I don't want it to be misconstrued, because you might hear me say his name maybe 2-3 times, but if you were to ask me who do I admire most in music, he might be the guy that I give you as number one, right? I just think he's done everything correctly. And I think, and I know from a commercial standpoint, he has been of the utmost dominance for a decade plus at this point. But what I know and how I carry myself is I'm equal to or greater than anybody wall to wall that's doing this. And quite frankly, everyone, for the most part, that has a general sense of awareness and wants to do this for a living should feel that way, right? But at the same time, I don't want it to be misconstrued. I listen to the music I make. I'm aware of the music I make, and I think that it's just a matter of people listening, people hearing it, it getting that same opportunity. There's no hesitation in my mind that if you put This Wave on Kiss 98.5 and every pop radio station across the country, it goes to number one on the Billboard charts.
We haven't even got there yet.
But it's just a matter of how do I get it from A to B? That's where we're at now. The creation space, the music space, I've checked that box. Now it's just a matter of the business side of things, and we live in a time where, I mean, to a degree, it's almost unfortunate, but the business aspect almost outweighs the performance aspect. Because there's millionaire rappers that can't rap. That's a real thing.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing.
So when I say that, it's just, I guess it goes back to like the cliche line you'll hear in movies. You know, guys go to jail. You wanna get respect. Go to the biggest guy in the yard and knock him out. So it's, when I want to talk about music, it's just Drake sitting on the top. Let me grab him by his shirt. You know what I mean?
Pin him up against a locker.
Yeah, but it's all love. I don't want it. And it's not meant to be disrespectful towards him either.
No.
Yeah, but it is. I see where you're at. I acknowledge and respect where you're at, but there's no reason why I can't be there as well.
Got you.
Yeah.
Finish this for me. Money, clothes, sneakers, anything materialistic.
When did that make you an effective, productive rhyme? Say I must have missed it.
This is a theme that we're going to hear a lot throughout the album. Is the anti-fashion, the anti-swag.
Yeah, that's a great observation. I'm glad you picked up on that. And again, I don't know that it's anti-fashion more than it's
anti-brand is what I really meant to say.
Anti-materialism.
And brand.
Yeah, yeah, just the overall gist of it, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm just at what point that infiltrated hip hop, I don't know, but I just never liked it. And I disagree with it, and I think it's corny, and I think it encourages. I think there's some bad habits in hip hop, and I think encouraging irresponsible financial. I'm coming across as a real dad right now, but I think encouraging financial irresponsibility is not something that we should be proud of.
No, for sure.
But yeah, it's not to say, it's at the same breath, it's not to say, hey, Nike sucks. It's not like that. It's like, it's cool, but not when we make it a false god.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Okay. Clears up a couple things.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to a lot of things, and I'm in pain.
Yeah.
What are you addicted to? It causes so much pain.
I think it's a lot of things. I think the thing you probably think of first is the last thing. So drugs or alcohol probably come to mind. It's not necessarily that space.
Right. I didn't think it was.
It's really
I was
just.
It wasn't. I was like, what do I not know?
It's really just the idea of bad habits more so than anything else. Yeah, that's really it on that one.
Got you. The scene has become the Clone Wars. Tears are our pain, and waves are our momentum.
Yeah. So that's two different spaces. When I reference the scene and compare it to clones, that's an extremely real thing.
Right.
And
for sure.
I mean, 9 out of 10 rappers that you see are an imitation, and you get one original person in there. I think the most heavily gimmicked rapper of the last 10 years is Lil Wayne.
For sure. 100%.
In both categories. But in the same breath, imitation is the highest form of flattery.
Of course.
But his sound, for one, and his look, for two. His look is like painfully obvious, right?
Right. The dreads.
Yeah, but you think back, like when he was doing that, when he came out looking like he did, dreads, face tats, lean, like that. He was in a space with guys that were wearing white tees and jerseys and were buzzed or fades or just like very simple. That late 90s East Coast look was really the look, and he was so opposite of that he was calling himself the Martian. He was calling himself the alien because he didn't look like anybody.
We are not the same. I am a Martian.
Fast forward 10-15 years, now there's 1,000 people that rap like, dress like, face tattoos like Lil Wayne.
Right.
And what he was drinking has now become mainstream. So I think you lose the whole integrity of making music when you're just imitating.
Right.
Because now you're retelling somebody else's story. You're not going to be able to do that better than they can themselves.
Right.
And the best music comes from passion, comes from pain, comes from real life events. So if you're not doing that, you're never going to be of the same effectiveness that someone that is doing that. So that's Lil Wayne's not the only person being imitated. And at the same time, imitation is not wrong. Like but you have to use it as inspiration, not imitation.
Right.
Like he inspired me to make a great record, but not I copied that record.
Right. I didn't become Wayne.
Right.
I didn't put tattoos on my face.
So that's that. The second part, tears are our pain, waves are our momentum. That line is the explanation to the title.
Gotcha.
That was, let me tell you in here what that is, because people are probably like, what does tears to waves even mean? So simply stated, tears are our pain, waves are our momentum. The overall gist of tears to waves is I've struggled so long, now I'm starting to gain traction, now I'm starting to gain momentum, just the same way as a wave did. They're both liquid, right? Tear falls, hits the water gains momentum, becomes a wave, the wave gets bigger, eventually the wave crashes on shores all around the globe.
Perfect. Yeah, that was a perfect summary of pretty much the album and that opening track. Track 2, The Resistance.
Yeah.
The first song on the album, you come out swinging.
Yeah.
Big baseball bat, very aggressive out the gate.
Right.
So,
yeah. Mind you, Colby was alive when I said this, and it almost makes it cooler that I reference him right off the bat.
Right.
NBA, I'm tryna be the man. What's your definition, family and friend? Holding on to the world in one hand. On the other side, I'm gripping emptiness. Bet the lead will slip, slide the pencil tip. Cross the paper, I cut through like Vader. So this lead, no ink, more like a weapon. I spit this poison, dripping venom. Just a big gut hanging over the top of cheap denim. I'm a loose cannon. More like Bruce Banner, words I hammer that store. More like a gore, how affected to the core. Thought I had him in the corner. Let me finish. Bear witness, trying to find my soul, trying to straighten it out. Used to run up in a house, used to run my mouth, used to run up in a spouse. Now I just check myself on the microphone. Just leave me alone. Built this solitude with a bad attitude and a laundry list of vices. Write this gem with ease, just a temporary fix for this sick disease. In this crazy world, picture how I feel. Trying to explain it to my daughter, will I protect her and the mother? It can bring you to your knees, or you can just kneel, pray. I miss you hip hop, just a big dude out here like you flip flops, and I give a fuck about the fashion. As you can see, you think you own a brand, the brand owns you. I'm free. Fake it till you make it, some take it too literally. I'm just me, in that I'm unique. Give a fuck about some sneaks, some tees, or some jeans. Swag the new lean, y'all the real fiends. Hip.
So send it there. Big basketball fan.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
You're quoting a lot of people in the beginning. I know you to be a 76ers fan, yes.
Currently. It changes. I'm not
Okay.
gonna lie, but it's not a bandwagon changes. It's I
wouldn't expect to
I've never been so I've never been like, oh, the Warriors are winning, I love the Warriors.
Right.
I've never been that space. I've just been I like the business aspect of basketball almost more so than I like watching the games. Weirdly. And even when I get the video games like NBA, 2K, whatever, like I spend more time playing as the manager, making moves than I do shooting balls.
Right.
But yeah, 76ers fan right now because I liked the whole shtick of trust the process and how they were rebuilding, and how they had a set timeline. They missed on Markelle Fultz. I think that was the only thing that stopped them from being in the finals last year, because that piece would have changed their trajectory. I like Ben Simmons. I like Embiid a lot. So yeah, right now, 76ers. Prior to that is the Thunder.
Gotcha.
Because I watched them. Well, for one, I loved the Supersonics, and that's who they were before the Thunder. And I loved Peyton. I loved Kemp. And then they became the Thunder. And I just love the idea of like a new franchise, like building its business essentially. And to draft Durant, Harden, Westbrook, Ibaka, that was crazy.
Right.
They had 3 MVPs on the same team and somehow didn't win a championship. And that's when I was like, and they started dealing them away. And I was like, all right, now I'm going to move to a new team because everything I liked about that team is gone.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Cut through like Vader. It's your second Star Wars, reference. We're clocking them.
Yeah. Yeah. Cut through like Vader. It just makes me think of the ending scene of, what was it, Rogue One?
I didn't watch Rogue One.
Where he waxes a whole ship single-handedly.
Oh, does he? Thanks for ruining it.
That just made me, I cut through like Vader because that's what my voice does. I think the Resistance originally wasn't track 2, right? So this originally had, for 3-4 years, I listened to this in a different format, and then I flipped it and put the Resistance second. And it is, of the album, it is just the general sense of a rebel spirit, a rebel heart. Walks hand in hand with the title, The Resistance, and it's like we touched on already. It's the record itself is very anti-materialism. Is the overall gist of it, and that kicking in the door for track 2. Also, I like to think I can write really good. I don't want to say pop, but I feel like I can write big hooks, songs that can relay well to like commercial radio. When you think of songs like This Wave Off Here, but like looking back to One of Us, Find a Way, like when I was writing those, like they translate very well to an overall mainstream audience. What I wanted to do was come in and punch you right in the mouth with rap.
Right.
Like, I'm going to give you those. I'm going to give you something for the kids. I'm going to give you something for the girls. Let me rap my ass off first.
Right. Let me show you.
Because it's been 5 years, and the songs that are still on people's playlists, as far as I can see, are those big, catchy, hooky songs.
Sure.
But it's like, that's cool, but that's not really who I am. Those were put there for a reason. and they serve their purpose, but it's like what I actually do is this.
Right.
Let me show you that off the bat. Then we'll get to the other stuff.
Got you. Used to run in the house. Used to run my mouth. Used to run up in a spouse.
Sheesh.
Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, it's real, and it's just me listing my sins.
Right, and this is, let's not forget, this is something that's, you know, been years in the making. So obviously, this isn't still what you're on.
Right,
it's
for
more of
sure.
like a reflection
But it's
type of
yeah,
thing.
exactly. It's an acknowledgement of them. It's not to glorify them.
Right.
But it's like, that's where I'm at. That's where the grittiness of these records come from, is actually having, you know, done those things. All three mentioned several times over.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's not to glorify it, but I mean, it's real, and I want to give you the real me as much as I can.
Right.
So that's where I think that's just a callback or an acknowledgement to, like, you know, there's more here than what you see. There's more history here than what you see.
Right.
So it's not some bubblegum rap. Like, there's some real life, you know, pain, turmoil, struggles, overall grittiness. So let's tie all that in, you know.
Right. I think the standout, I would say, quotable from this track is, "And material things cover up what is underneath. A lack of passion cannot be dashed with fashion. When your words aren't felt and a belt won't make it tighter. Where's your soul? Tell me, where's your soul?"
Yeah, that's the golden pen.
You can't buy that at the store. That's something that's just crafted.
So that no one's gonna give me that. No one. That's the golden pen. That's really all I can say about that. And that's just the mechanics of everything I do coming together. That's taking my thoughts and making it poetry, making it a poem, and just the wordplay on that. You know, when a belt won't make it tighter.
Right. I hope people got what that meant.
Yeah, 100%. And if they don't, it wasn't meant for them.
Right.
But yeah, man, I'm glad you caught that. You caught a lot of cool things, and that's honestly, like, I'll be thinking about that a lot of times. Like, this is just gonna go over the head of 9 out of 10 people, but that one is gonna be like, yo, this is the guy. Right. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what I do. So
got you.
Yeah.
So that's track 2, The Resistance, This Wave.
Blockbuster record.
Right. So it's nice. You go from chill to wow, back to chill. It's like, okay, let me.
Yeah.
I feel like this is gonna be like a theme to this album.
Oh yeah.
The back and forth.
Baby, come ride this wave. Come ride this wave.
Smile.
Right. You know,
come ride this wave.
Right.
And get wavy with me, baby. Come ride this wave. Come ride this wave. And get wavy with me, baby. Come and ride this wave. And I wanna tell her what I wanna go and do tonight, night, alright. Gotta pour another bottle and I got a limo coming over. She don't wanna drive, that's alright. So we getting down proper though. Gotta get a steak with
all
an
the details.
red. And I'm all up in
Tell you about
but
the exact
instead gotta
meal.
get her making bread. So that cash flow, paying off the feds, what I said.
Should have mentioned the sides.
Style they ain't seeing on the racks, got racks. So I'm buying up the racks, them stacks. And my honey's got my back, that's fact. Make a hater step back, that's that, sir. Got style they ain't seeing on the racks, got racks. So I'm buying up the racks, them stacks. And my honey's got my back, that's fact. Make a hater step back, that's that. Baby, come ride this wave.
So this wave, you got it's an immediate sound change up. It sounds like that radio hit, like you were saying. Is this something that we can say like you were chasing a sound?
I don't think that so while I have a handful of those throughout my library, every project's gonna have, you know, at least 2. I think this was just such a cinematic, from the beat to the hook, like, and I still rap the same, not the same content as like The Resistance, but with the same level of integrity. Right. I still want to give you a verse, even though Janet Snyder might drop this one. Right. You know what I mean? But I'm still gonna give you the verse.
It's not a throwaway.
And I
verse.
think, right, and never do I want to give anybody that. So I think there's 2 people that really did that influenced me, that I think about. I think DMX comes to mind, because he would make records like Party Up. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Right. Club goes nuts. But he's still DMX throughout the verses, you know? if I got to bring it to these cowards, then it's gonna be quick, right? Like
Right.
he's still DMX,
Right.
Like, so I'm still me, I'm still PA, even though this is a mainstream joint.
Right.
So that's number one. Do I sit and look for, like, go through beats like, yo, where's the radio beat? No, absolutely not. It's This beat is incredible. This hook is incredible. Let me put a verse to it, and it's like, yeah, this is that one. So I think that sound just tends to kind of fall into my arsenal of things I can do.
Right.
And
they find you.
Right, and I like to do them, and yeah, and I don't really look at it like that. Like, at first, when Tears to Waves was just 7-8 songs, I was like, oh, this wave is the centerpiece of this table. But then it came together, and you start seeing all the songs I did, and it's like, as I started to hand out some leaks, and as I started to give some copies of the album out, it's probably made its way to 9-10 people. And I start to get feedback. It's like, oh, everybody else thinks this one over here is the one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this one, they think this one's cool, but like, oh, this is the one.
Right.
And so what I'm finding, and to go back to Drake, is when you're good enough, like, you don't have to follow what the sound or the standard is.
Right.
You can just make a new one, and if it's good enough, it can't be ignored.
Right.
Right. So
that's a wave.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So I'm tending to find that people are liking the most, and essentially, like, it is my sound, like, when I'm just heartfelt, genuinely me, over like a little bit of the guitar and more like East Coast sound. I think people are taking to those the most, because I think they're finding relatability in the vulnerability that I'm showing.
Right.
But with this wave, yeah, I wasn't looking for that sound, but I found that sound. I know I need that sound, but they do tend to come to me. So I find 2-3 of them, and they're going to be good enough to make the album. Like, that box is checked. I don't have to look for them. And never when I'm writing a song am I necessarily looking for anything. It all starts with the right beat, and the best songs I have are the ones that write theirself, because when they're forced, I can feel it.
Right.
So when they write theirself, when I'm going through beats and playing beats, and I find one, and it's the first 30 seconds of it playing, and my mind is just, I'm not pushing, like, the pen is like, if there's a pen in front of me, it's just going, like, my hands aren't even on it. Like, that's what's happening in my head. Like, either the hook writes itself or the verse writes itself. So when that happens, it's like, oh, okay, this is going to be the one we roll with for now, because it's already writing itself. Right. Whereas if I find a beat and it's like, oh, this beat's cool, but like, I don't know what to say on it, nothing's coming to mind. Right. They're going to start forcing it. And sometimes you got to do that, but it's like, that's not going to be the one.
Right.
Yeah. So this one, wrote itself, and it just came together. It's a nice record.
Now, did you come up with the title of the album before this wave, or did you have this wave and then be like, Tears to Waves?
I think that's a great question, because you see the wave theme in, I think, 3 of the track titles.
Right.
I want to say, man, I don't even know the answer to that, honestly. But I think that song came before the Tears to Waves idea. Okay. I think.
Gotcha.
No one really knows, right? But
I mean, yeah. It's nothing that's super giant.
Right.
Mickey Moscato's on this song. Mm-hmm. That verse brought a definitely different energy to the whole record, and also to the album too, because like, you don't see that again, really. What was the thought behind that, and the guitar solo too?
Yeah, great question. Mickey, for one, did her thing on this. Sounds great on it. Definitely. Does sound great on it. It's really cool to add her voice to the album. Right. I think it dates back to, like, me being, I don't want to say a kid, but kind of in the middle between being a kid and a man. There was a time when I was just looking up at Buffalo rap, like, not really in the mix yet, didn't have anything out yet. And there was a certain list of people who were, like, relatively well known in the city. She was one of them. Right. And so I have, like, this, not like a physical list, but like this mental box in my head of, like, boxes I want to check. Like, oh, did something with her, did something with him. Kadir Latif's another one. I was able to check that box on Patience. I think, on Patience. But it's like, I was like 18, 19. I was in college and, like, listening to Buffalo rap, and, like, I mean, they were in different spaces totally in regards to what kind of music they make, but nonetheless, it's like, I like to think that I could rap with anybody or make music with anybody, not even necessarily rap. And I just wanted to check the box, like, we'll work with her. because she's got a very unique sound. There's not a whole lot of female rappers in Buffalo. But check that box. It was cool. Reached out to her. She recorded it, sent it back, put it on there. So that was great. And because what I'm talking about, like I'm essentially speaking to a woman in my verse,
right,
and telling the story of a woman. And I thought it might be a little awkward for like a guy to follow that.
Right, for sure.
And it's like, so now there's 2 guys and a third guy playing the guitar. It's like 3 guys rapping about this one girl. It's like, well, where is she?
Right. Perfect explanation.
Yeah. So the guitar came from the idea of third verse was open at the time. This was one of those records where I sat, like I was just talking to you about, like forcing things. I sat with the pen and a notebook and the beat, and I couldn't get another verse to come out.
Right. And
that happens a lot, so I don't get discouraged. But what I do there is I find someone else to put there, and that's how I've featured people.
Right.
It's never I hear a beat and it's like, oh, so and so will kill this.
Right.
It's like, because I don't believe in it, because like, oh, I'll kill it. Why would I shop for a beat for somebody else?
Exactly.
That's weird, right?
Right.
So it's like when my pen stalls, that's when I reach.
Right.
Because I'll do this thing front to back until I can't, and then once I stop wherever that space is, that's where I find somebody, and then it comes to who fits here best.
Gotcha.
So the third verse, it was like, I knew this was going to be a smash. I had Mickey, 2 good verses, big giant hook, and I was like, what is unorthodox? What would be cool to do? And then I had a cousin who was playing the guitar, and he's nice with it, so hit him up, and I was like, yo, like, I need you to turn this hip-hop record into a Prince record and lay this ripping solo on the third verse.
Right.
And I actually remember I'm sitting in my living room, and I sent him a video of, he was like, what do you want this to sound like? Right? And I was like, near. like I played the guitar with my mouth and sent him a video, and I was like, I want it to sound like this.
Right.
But it's making yourself uncomfortable, right? There's no growth in the comfort zone.
Right.
So it's like I sat there and probably looked like an idiot, like making these guitar noises with my mouth, and to think that I made the sentence in a video that he could post anywhere he wants.
Right.
Trusted in him. But then he played it. And that's that's just comes into another space that I really enjoy, and that's producing albums, producing songs, and it's like not even in the typical sense people think of it, of like producing a beat. Like, no, like listening to a beat, looking at the pieces I have to work with, and like putting them together. You know what I mean? So like executive producing.
Right. Definitely.
Like back in the old days, like when the Beatles were Beatlemania, it's like they would go to the studio, they'd have an engineer, and they'd play the music, but then they'd have a producer who would stand off to the side and be like, no, play it this way, or no, make this sound,
Right.
So yeah, it was just piecing that together. I got that guitar back. I can remember you came to my house. I lived in West Seneca at the time, and we sat in my truck, and I gave you the first listen, and we let that shit slap. And it was a moment. It was a moment. It was a moment.
I was like, because that was the first time your like sound had transitioned into like this.
I was a kid. I would say all the way up to Patience, I was a kid. Like even though I was like early to mid 20s, it's like I was still a kid in my eyes.
Of course.
So yeah, it was definitely like I was like, oh, this was. It was like a general acknowledgement, even if it was unspoken. Like, oh, this is the one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Track 4. Immediately grimy. Immediately back to grime.
Coming off the back of the biggest mainstream joint on there.
Right.
That's done, like, the contradiction is done on purpose.
Right.
Make no mistake about it.
Right.
It just sounds like sinister.
Right. Like,
this game got all this gold on, tripping. Baby, I still, but I won't be slipping. PA, big truck riding, sauce sipping. Bad hitting, then I'm dipping. You think you can see me, nah, you tripping. Be flipping this shit, smoke, I be piffing. They be draped up in Jordan, I got the shit on like
they though, not me.
Right.
Jesus. I just ask you to watch my back.
With the call to the all-powerful.
Point me in the right direction in these times of uncertainty.
Who else would I call you?
And help me to reach my destination.
Yeah.
God, we pray.
In God we pray, on God you pray. I play with a beat like a new toy, like a tool to the block. How my shit slap, clap, bang, bang. Fuck is this? That's new rap. I rock a boom bap with a Louisville like I'm Babe Ruth. Without me, who the fuck can tell you these truths? I can put a flow on cruise, doing 90 when I come through. Gonna believe in something, then you gonna believe in me. Might disagree, but this pain will never fade away. Never fade away. Y'all like Kid and Play. How you got this shit all backwards? I'ma sit down backwards, cooking up like a crackhead with the hoodie up over his head and his headphones on, and the flow's the bomb. This game got on this.
You're masterful at letting the beat breathe. Like you find these pockets where like you could say something else, but no, no, you back up.
It's important.
The changing with the modulation in this track is, you know, it's very different. It ties it together nicely. Like a lot of times you would think like, oh shit, he's about to go off beat, but then you grab it and bring it right back in the circle and like say another word that no one was thinking about. It's very special.
Yeah. Thank you.
Fashion and Jewelry Killer again. Dripping, 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 dripping. Slip, 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 slip.
Yeah.
What was that?
So
just like
one,
a nice little bridge.
So one, we got to credit Wolf on that one.
Okay. Shout out to Wolf.
Yeah, shout out to Wolf. I'm not gonna. He probably doesn't even know that he wrote that, but he wrote that to a degree. Like if you were to ask him, like he probably wouldn't even remember or know. But originally, so this song's got is, you know, we talked about how this took 5 years. This is one of those records that has been around for 5 years.
Right.
It was never the piece it is now, but it's been through a lot of things. So at first, I didn't have that bridge that you just mentioned. I didn't have a second verse, and I was gonna give it to Wolf. He did that dripping, 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 slipping, slipping. I loved it.
Right.
And then, you know, he just didn't get around to doing the second verse. And you know, obviously you get to a point where it's like, I just want to wrap this up. So whatever's not done, I'm just gonna fill it in. So
right.
I just asked him, you know, do you mind if I repeat what you had done there, and then I'll take the verse from there. And of course he's just like, yeah, go ahead.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm not gonna steal anyone's thunder here. That was him. Quite frankly, that's, as far as I'm concerned, like probably like one of the coolest parts of that song.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really well done.
Again, it changes it up. It's not the same monotonous like flow, style, whatever.
Yep.
And then the second verse comes in, standout, quotable on this. The rhymes ain't what they used to. The rhymes ain't what you used to. Live through you. Classic rap, long and gone. Rip guru.
Yeah, rip like R.I.P.
Yeah. No, I know. And then you had my flow's tighter than the hosiery your ass is in. I heard that and I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, we're just stating facts. The second,
we're just stating facts.
the second verse is very braggadocious.
Right.
And I think the overall, it kind of has a resistance feel to it, where it's like, all right, I've done these last 5-10 minutes of the album I spent doing one thing. Let me slap you back into, oh, this kid raps his ass off.
Right.
And that's really what that is. And then in addition to it's supposed to be Wolf at one point, so there's 2 songs that were supposed to be on this album. This is one of the 2. Obviously, it made the album. The other was a song called Passion, which is already out as a single from a group called STP.
Oh yeah,
you can find it on all the streaming services. Yeah. That was something that was originally supposed to be on Tears to Waves. And it was in the same space that this was in. Like I have a verse, or I have a concept, or I have a beat and a hook, whatever it may be. But like I'm not feeling the verse 2 or the verse 3.
Right.
So Passion was originally a hook and a verse that I had. You know, I knew I wanted to work with STP, so I was like, hey, I got this. Let's just rap on this. That's what we did. This was the same thing. I had someone approach me about doing a record together. And I'll respectfully tell you, I'm typically have more confidence in the stuff that I have than somebody's going to send me. So it's like, okay, even if it is your song, let's make it the best song it can be if I'm going to be on it. So I have this for you. Like you can have this. So I originally was going to give this to somebody, right? Fell through. I took it back, and you know, I finished it myself. And by that time, you know, I was able to go back in and write the second verse. It had come to me by then. But yeah, it had originally been shopped around a couple times, and yeah, this is really the first album where, you know, I had it for so long that I just started selling people songs off it.
Right. Which is a crazy thing to say, but then you still have this amazing body of work.
Yeah.
to show for.
Mhm.
Track 5, What a Ride.
Very diverse. This was
It brings you again. You're doing this a lot.
this was totally out of the comfort zone. This was me going to my engineer AJ, saying, "Hey, I know I'm not good at it, but today I'm gonna sing."
Say again.
I know I'm not good at it, but today I'm gonna sing.
Right.
And I'm trusting in you're good enough to make it work.
Right.
That's life.
Yeah, what's totally strange? They go. Yeah. What's totally strange? They go. Yeah, I flow on my soul and I'm flawed, but the flames eternal like a scripture. It was written and it's real. Can you feel my pain? All this game with a pen and pad, all this phone in my hand. I'm from the abandoned land. You get robbed twice, walking down your own block to your own house. Stick up kids, that's how they live. And it's strange how the night moves. Oh, how the night moves. Yeah. Would I lose you if I didn't write you? Lord knows that's hard to take in. How it hurts. This earth, we're not forsaken.
Definitely a different sound.
100%.
Definitely a different sound.
Should be clear cut within the first 3 seconds of it.
Right.
And I say, bless, 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 bless.
Gives you a rock vibe.
Yeah. A little bit of Rebirth, Lil Wayne
Right.
type idea.
Something like this that you need more. The truth is everybody needs less. Yes, much less. Now can you feel that? I'll be the best yet. And you can believe that. Pressure, success. What a ride, oh. What a ride. What a ride. I'll ride the tide till the current gains momentum to a wave. I gave and give so much to you like all my money.
You stop right there. How you pull into the second verse is perfect.
Yes.
Just say that.
Yeah.
And I think you've known this for a while. Like, that's one of my favorite songs on this joint.
I didn't know that.
No, you didn't?
I'm happy to hear that.
Well, I kept telling you to play that shit over and over again. I should have been clear.
So before you ask any questions, because just my mind was racing while this was playing of all the memories that walk hand in hand with the song.
Yeah.
One, it's a summer night, probably somewhere between 12 a.m. and 2 a.m. And I would say it's probably 16, 17. And I'm just sitting in my garage in West Seneca. And this was one of those stories where I had the beat and I was marveling at the beat. Like, this is masterful production.
Right.
And I knew I couldn't rap traditionally on it, but I knew I wanted to make it a record. So I just sat in notes on my phone, letting this play on my laptop over and over, and just wrote that thing. And it wasn't even like, here's where the verse goes, here's where there's a hook, here's where there's a bridge, because I don't even know if there are those things in there. It was just like, it was one of those things that wrote itself. I just vented into notes, and then I played it back and was like just fixing it as I went. As to just, how do I have to say this to get it to fix it? I never like, I'm very mathematical when I usually write. Like, I'll play the beat, and then on a piece of paper, verse 1 is this time to this time, hook 1 is this time to this time, verse 2, and the bridges. Like, I break it down like that, and then I'll start piecing my stuff in there. This was just very improv, like just wrote it and then just put it as it fit. Right. That comes to mind. Like, I can remember the night sitting in a lawn chair writing it in my garage.
In West Seneca?
Yep.
Super cold.
So, yeah. I mean, it can be, but it was summer. Yeah,
you said summer.
Secondly, there's a reference in there to CG.
Yeah.
And I think I wanted to immortalize the spirit of Buffalo hip hop. And I think if you mentioned CG, I didn't mention him, but I kind of retold a story he told me.
Okay.
And again, he doesn't even know this. I never even told him this, but
Shout out CG.
Yeah, there's a piece on there where I'm essentially talking about the violence and the grittiness of Buffalo. And I said, from the bandit land, you'll get robbed twice, walking down your own block to your own house.
Facts.
He had told me,
I know what you're saying.
He had told me the story about how he got robbed 2 times right outside of his house. And ironically, or maybe not ironically, the street CG lives on now, from kindergarten to 5th grade, I lived on the street right next to it. And there's like that church, I think it's St. Lawrence, right on the corner there. So I was on Herb Street, and he was on I think he's on I don't want to say his address, but but he was 1 or 2 streets away from that.
Right.
And I just know how, that's east side Buffalo. It's about as gritty as Buffalo gets, I would say. And I just wanted to, capture like the overall feel of the city, the streets, Buffalo. Right. And because the sound has this grittiness to it, so I wanted to capture that grittiness to it. I think if you can incorporate, a piece of Buffalo hip hop like CG is, it just makes the story cool.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah,
that's dope.
He's
Didn't
kind of
know that.
Yeah, right, and he doesn't even know that. But I just remember driving with him to a show or something, and he was telling me that story, and then when I was writing this, it came to mind because it just fit in. Another thing I don't want to forget to mention, AJ Hurry on the guitar on this. It just weeps the whole time, right? It's
AJ played that.
Yeah.
Fire.
Yeah. So there was naturally some guitars already in the production, but I wanted more, and I wanted more grunge. So I think whereas the natural reaction tends to go to, and we did it live when this was playing, this is rock, this is Lil Wayne Rebirth. For me, I'm still not there yet, but I know you and I worked on some records just recently, a week or two ago. I'm trying to get to this space where instead of rock, I want it to just be more soulful.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I know what you're talking
about. Instead of like, I'm doing a lot more singing. Instead of being the elite singer, like I'm not Adele.
Right.
I want you to, and this is the music I'm a connoisseur of as well, is I want to hear the pain. I want to hear the soul. I would rather hear your pain in your voice than hear you hit the note perfectly.
Right.
I'd rather see you, if you're performing it, I would rather see you emotionally reacting to it than watch you hit 10 notes correctly. Right. And so soul, blues, I think that's the space I'm chasing with some of these rock records. Pearl Jam Black comes to mind as the song that encapsulates the exact sound I would love to find. Do I think I am in the same space as Eddie Vedder from a performance standpoint? Absolutely not. But when he performs the climax of Black, it's a sight to be seen. And you could see it emotionally affects him. You could tell it's a real thing.
Right.
And that's what I'm chasing.
Gotcha.
And I think this sound does a good job of it. Since this was recorded, however many years ago, I'd like to think my voice has come a long way. Or if I was to re-record this, it wouldn't be so doused in auto-tune anymore. But yeah. Word.
Let's listen to the end of this, into track 6, which you want. I think is the best transition we have on this whole album.
Yeah. Transitions are something I learned from Kanye West.
Yeah, it's very important. Crazy.
It is.
Crazy.
And I would agree with you.
This is where I think you really start to smoke them when it comes to rap. And again, we go back up.
This is very textbook. I'll tell you why after.
And PB the Pope. Come on over, let me whisper what I'm writing about. Have you leaning over way before the lights are out? Know I cover all the bases and I'm striking out. 99 bulls when I'm rapping, yeah, the mic is out. That probably went over the head of it. My rhetoric is delicate and effortless, I've been the shit. See, I'm older now, I understand I gotta give. I drop the top, I shift through the city just to cop a pimp. Say I'm cocky, I hardly gotta pop the piston. Now I'm on a mission, yeah, that's conquering the opposition. Stop and listen, elaborate and teach a bit. Mile in my shoes, you couldn't even make these sneakers fit. I'm some lion, you a zebra, I'ma eat you quick. Might have had a piece of kitty cat, I'ma plead the fifth. So, this is just to let you know verse that I'ma never leave this earth without my flow first.
It is. And that's the conflict. Money and fashion and fame. Versus all of this hunger and pain. What you want, huh? What you want? Tell me what you want, huh? What you want? Tell me what you want, huh? What you want? What you want? What you want? What you want? What you want, huh? Ride the beat like a
Gotta let a little air out on that one.
Pull-ins are crazy, yeah. Ride the beat like a seven-figure gig.
Blasphemous, they blasting clips. I don't shoot or sniff. I just pen this bit. I twist these L's like a treble clef. Yeah, build, I'm an architect. Execute. Excellence.
I'm aware of it.
Riding with a risen sense. So much poison, corrupting the innocence of the world. But my baby girl, it's cruel. It's true. And you know it. Freezing moments in time like it was Kodak. It's freezing in town where my Kodak. Respect my city, or we'll kill you. And that's the conflict. Hunger and passion and pain. Versus money and fashion and fame. What you want, huh?
First of all,
What you want? Tell me what you want, huh? What you want? Tell me what you want.
Come on, my.
What you want?
without you taking all your messages.
What you want? What you
Yeah,
want?
right.
What you want?
I know without you playing music, it's
Shit,
just,
I
I've never
pen
seen
with
you.
my offhand in cursive.
But
Well,
I
that
do
shit
see
was
Joe do
numb,
that.
but I bet you still feel this. My shots catch pops every time.
Yeah, I bet you have.
Live fearless and get money.
What you want?
You hungry? I'm like Andy with the tummy. I kick in the door. I'm a Tommy with a Tommy. Don't comment on that shit. Grab a mic and try me. The flow's everlasting. I try to make it clear. These ain't comebacks, cause I'll always be here. Beware, be low. East Coast, greenhouse. We out here. Be a pain of fame, out flame. I bang for a bag. I have your shooter hog tied with a bandana rack.
Right
And I
around-
don't
it's right
flag
around
for
the
a
center.
color. I just rep for this
Time
gang.
perspective, it's right around.
And that's the conflict.
So that was
Hunger and passion and pain. Versus all of this money and fame. What you want, huh? What you want? Tell me what you want, huh? What you want? Tell me what you want, huh? What you want? What you want? What you want? What you want? What you want, huh?
Cars ending on What a Ride. It's like the curtains closing on Act 1 of this
For sure.
of this show.
For sure.
And then when the What You Want pulls in, it's like the curtains are reopening,
New
and I'm
scene.
taking you into the next act.
Right.
Is the general vibe I wanted for it. Is the general feeling I get for it. I think this song does a good job of. I don't always do this, as you know. You've been a victim of being Pete Rosed. I collectively, this collectively builds. Verse one is of the three. It's not weak by any means. Of the three verses, it's the build me verse.
For sure.
Verse 2 is like, oh, okay, we're getting there. We're saying some things. Verse 3 is the climax,
Which is a rare.
yeah, but
Like,
I
who
mean
gives
that's
3 verses anymore?
right.
You know
But
what I
that's to continue building and to reward the listener for making it this far.
That's a fact.
It's really
Feel
well.
that.
It's well done. Like, I don't know. I don't look for that even, but this did that naturally.
Mm.
Yeah.
Verse 3 has one of my favorite pull-ins of probably anything that you ever did. I don't know if you knew this or not.
What you want?
But
5-star verses.
let's see if we can. Shit. Wish I had like a.
Yeah. What you want?
5-star verses? Should I pen with my offhand in cursive? Crazy.
My shots catch pops every time.
Outfielders
Live fearless.
and give money.
You think you
I'm-
Gandhi? You think you hungry? I'm like Gandhi with the tummy. Jeez.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
you want 5-star verses? Should I pen with my offhand in cursive? Like you want like my weak shit? Like what do you want? You're
Yeah.
giving the listener a real
Yeah.
question. What do you want?
Yeah.
You want money, fashion, or fame? Or do you want this hunger, passion, and pain?
What you want is a play. Like there should almost be a question mark at the end of the title. So
It
where,
really should.
So whereas the
Really should.
resistance was anti-materialism,
Mm-hmm.
what you want becomes the resistance. But now I'm poking you, being like, "Come on, do you see what I'm doing?"
Right. Right.
Versus what you're doing.
Right.
And it's what you want. The resistance becomes like the anti, and what you want becomes like the awareness.
Right.
Of what you are saying is not getting the job done, and then but then it's also asking the listener like what you want, and it's like what you want 5-star verses, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. So track 7, Another Fire. emoji.
So far we're 7 for
Yo,
7.
yo, real quick. You're right. You didn't know there was a flame emoji?
No, I knew there was a flame emoji, a flame reaction emoji.
Oh,
see, bro. Yeah, you
got
gotta read
you,
these things.
Got you. I didn't think you said reaction.
Yeah, so like you know how you can do the thumb up, the thumb down.
Right.
Maybe you can do a thumb down. The
No, you
crying,
can't.
the crying, laughing.
The angry face.
Yeah.
The wow face.
There's no flame emoji reaction.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, all Cam's bars would get them.
For sure. It's forever. Back to a slower vibe.
Per se, I mean the rap.
I think this is my favorite hook on the album.
I just do want that thing.
Lauren Hill reference.
Just from the
The
fact
intros are.
right.
Like, we talk about Kobe and Shaq and Ginobili and Lauren Hill and Bret Hart. You know?
Yeah, come on. I was thinking, why you the only one that's really getting what I'm giving? I'm addicted to the kid. Listen, and I suppose I'm only living for the moment, but I'm owning what I'm holding, composing what I be flowing, showing everybody things. I'm way more angry when I'm zoning. Oyster perpetuate be the only thing that's flowing. You a golden star going far. You got the body of a goddess, baby. Show it off. I know you brought it, yeah, you show it off, and I be showing off. I'm rapping to the beat up in a foreign car, and everybody knows ours. Slow and soft, we rockin' to the melody, and maybe hit the drum and call. And you gon' let me hit it from the back before we get to dozing off. And I be living good. Lawyers want me to sell, I be holding off. We elevated to the penthouse suite. She got me wishing I ain't left South Beach, so pull another one, yeah. I told this chick she bad as hell, but I ain't tripping. I be smoking something, got me feeling good, but she looking better. Got south where the weather warm, I'm trying not to sweat her. I told this chick that life just looks better when we're together. Can love you better than any other. Yeah, I told her I want this forever. Yeah, I told her I want this forever. Yeah, I told her come and ride with the kid. If you in the come ups, all I do is crack good music. They worry about blue thumb ups.
Crazy.
I poke social media a lot as well.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Comments, likes,
Yep.
buying fake views,
Yeah.
fake plays, all that.
So the overall, as the more we talk about it, the overall gist is like anything fake
Right.
is being mocked, is being challenged, we should say.
Again, with the pulling though, come on, ride with the kid. If you win the come ups, all I do is craft good music, right?
They worry about blue thumb ups.
Blue thumb ups? Let me say green thumb ups.
Blue thumb ups. What color is the Facebook thumb?
That's what I was like. What is
The
green
blue,
thumb ups? But, like,
the
I
blue
feel
thumb
you.
on Facebook.
Right.
You know, it's saying all I do is craft good music. Like I'm over here in the space of let's write the best music. You're in the space of what is going to get the most likes.
Exactly.
It's just contrasting that.
Right.
This ties into what I was saying earlier. The joints that got the guitar, I seem to do really well on those. And
yeah,
then
that's definitely your lane.
the drums match that really nice on this. This is 3 really like there's absolutely times throughout my catalog, as I'm sure there is with every artist, where I'll hear a verse and be like, I don't know about that one.
Right.
Okay, I could probably do that better. This one is one where it's like, oh my god, like listen to me rap.
Listen to me rap. My God.
So yeah, this song is really strong all across the board. It has the increment of some Jay-Z on it.
Yeah.
And I try to, the way I dress, like just today, for example, like the way I dress, the way I present myself, and we talked about it, like business is a huge part of hip hop.
Right.
And the most successful people, the most longevity, the people that are on have the general sense of business to them. And so like you just see like little gems I lace in there. You know, the lawyer want me to sell, I'll be holding off. Like just try to drop these pieces in there because you know, this is at the end of the day, I make hip hop for adults, right?
Right.
Like it's for kids can listen to it, kids do listen to it, but it's like I want men to be able to appreciate what I'm putting down. I want to motivate, I want to, you know, inspire, and it's just the business increment is laced throughout the album like it would be on a Jay-Z album.
Right.
Now am I
Definitely.
a multi-time billionaire? Absolutely not. But you know, do I want to build to those same pedigree? Absolutely. And so we incorporate it because business is a big part of my life. So I incorporate it throughout here. And then the overall sense of when I'm listening to this, when I'm writing this, I was in Florida, not physically, but like for whatever reason, like just I guess more so than anything, just the sound.
Yeah.
It's like I'm in Miami on a warm night and the sun is just setting.
Right.
There's a pinkish purplish sunset and it's really warm and I'm on a balcony Like that's how I'm writing this and delivering this.
Right.
And so when I wrote the hook, it's about, you know, a fictional woman that I never met, doesn't exist in real life.
Right.
But I'm essentially telling this like love story about like how she's in Florida and I'm gonna stay there for her or whatever.
Right.
But that was just the overall vibe. And with the hook, actually I grabbed from Get Some off Patience. I have this line on there, and like I almost feel like the line was like went underrated. Like it was such a strong line that I just recycled it. I mean, I'll do that here and there. I had this line in Get Some. You know, essentially like, you know, trying not to sweat her, and use like trying not to sweat her, but like use sweater in the wordplay, like a sweater on. So I kind of tied that into the hook here. You know, down south where the weather warm, we're trying not to sweat her. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that came from Get Some, which again is the guitar. You know, like yeah.
Third verse, give him another rare third verse. You pulling with, you should ride with the kid if you end up winning. Although I pray to the Lord, I'm still out here sinning.
Real. Yeah, and it's just I'm flawed. I'm vulnerable. I'm not perfect, and it's there's contradictions all over the album, right? And it's you know, I'm a Christian man. I'm a spiritual man. I'm a God-fearing man. I pray to God for you know, from a place of gratitude a lot. Thank you for everything I have. From a place of guidance, but it's like, although I'm doing that, I'm still a fucking wild boy a lot of the times.
Right.
So it's like a very, you know, it's a weird space, you know, but it's an acknowledgement of it. And again, it's an awareness of it.
Right.
Yeah.
You think you hungry, I'm collecting dust up in the cupboard. I like you keep certain things like climb out the truck, or like you just talk about your truck, or you think you hungry, I'm like so and so.
Yeah.
I like that you know, a lot of rappers have those.
Yeah.
It's like Wayne with and the F is for something.
Yeah, that's well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think hunger specifically really resonates with me because I think that is the difference maker. So there's people who have a bigger budget to put into their music than me, but there's not going to be somebody that wants this more than me. There's not going to be somebody who's doing it for the right reasons more than me. There's not going to be somebody who appreciates and respects and is a student of the craft more than me. So a lot of times that, I don't want to say angers me, but to a degree it does, just to be honest. Like when I see people achieving certain goals and it's the wrong headspace to be in. I talked about you not being in that headspace, and it's like a bitterness of people getting somewhere I want to go before me or more so than me, but then tying it back to like just trying to remind myself like that's temporary and my reward is going to be much greater than theirs. It's just not, it hasn't been yet, but it will be.
Right. I feel like people who work more for their goal, I was actually just talking to my grandmother about this yesterday. People who work more for their goal and then, you know, finally get it and stay, you know, connected and grounded are going to keep it longer than the person who just got it overnight and then
I touch on that on the last time I talk on the album. I touch on that.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that as well. Track 8, Like a Shotty. Let's just play it. Back to grinding.
Absolutely. Let's not forget we're in Buffalo.
Right. It's also got that like old like tape sound too.
Yeah.
Which is really nice.
Like
got mouth to feed, my seed got needs, and I say to you, you'll see. Best believe me, we gon' eat that piece on knees. I ski in between they teeth. Chick on keep bustin' tree down into a green line. I throw the house up like it was a gang sign, just a fly mother falling on ya. Hang time. Run up in the arms, run up in your parents' home. Messed up, I throw the hood up over my dome. Put the gloves on my hands, I think I'm Eric Moulds. Kicking doors, I'll take whatever's valuable. Throw it in the trunk, right outside the woofer box. Roll up while it slaps and knocks, while I'm curving blocks. Look you in your eyes, tell you what was yours is mine. Said the same to this game as I hit it from behind. This my grind, I bang like a shot, like a shot. That's what I do. Try the boy, you'll get by, you'll get by. Getting high, watching time fly, getting by. I do. Try the boy, you'll get by, you'll get by. Getting high, watching time fly. Getting high, get high, get high.
Crazy. Started off with, "Hey yo, I never bust a gun. All I ever did was run my mouth. Run up in your house since I was 16." Like you said earlier, you're a wild cat when you were younger.
Yeah, so I'll produce this beat. I can remember it. Sitting in the living room in West Seneca, my laptop, working in Logic, made this beat. Obviously, a very sinister beat.
Right.
And I remember the beat and the verse and the hook and the recording collectively an hour and a half.
Right.
And that's not to discount anything that happens.
Right.
It is as elite as anything else on here. The best stuff writes itself. I'll say it again. The faster it comes together, the better it's probably going to be, quite frankly.
Right.
When I started taking the pen to the paper after I had the skeleton for the beat, I had a general awareness of, I'm going to say the most outlandish shit I've ever done. And like, that is the general direction.
Right.
What is the most ruthless shit I've done? Let's talk about it. But it's not like, it wasn't like shock value. It wasn't like on some Slim Shady shit where it was like, let me say the darkest thing that could possibly happen. It was like, let's keep in the reality space though.
Right.
Because that whole album is very reality based and very grounded. I don't talk about it if I haven't lived it, because it just gives it that extra appeal.
Right.
So I knew I was going to go down that lane, and then I just essentially made a 16-bullet list of the baddest shit I've done.
Yeah, so it was one time.
Yeah, but yeah, to tie it back into that reality space, we come in with, "Hey, yo, I never bust a gun."
Right.
Like, have I shot a gun? Sure. Am I shooting at you? No.
Right.
Am I going to shoot at you? No.
Right.
So let's keep it real. And I thought, there's two things that are very ironic on this, and like, it's one. It's like an East Coast shoot. It's like something you would hear like 50 Cent on.
Right.
But it's like, it starts with, "Hey, yo, I never bust a gun." That's almost like a Lil Dicky bar.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but it's delivered in a way where it's like real.
Right.
All I ever did was run my mouth, and it becomes like in your face opposed to like violent.
Right.
Like, what a fucking like pest. You know what I mean? Like, for lack of a better word. Like, this dude's just gonna like verbally harass me, but not like hurt me. You know what I mean? So that's one. And then the other real big contradiction is, I go for the darkest, but I made a conscious decision not to have one cuss word. And like, to the point where it's almost like weird. Just a bad mother. Like,
yeah, I was gonna ask you about that.
I don't swear. And like, I made that decision. Like, that was done consciously. And it's like, because swearing would be so easy to do.
Right.
Like, let's swear up and down this. And it's like, so I was like, let's make it a clean delivery of the darkest stories.
Right. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. So like, it sounds like almost awkward. Just a fly mother. Obviously, because what I had originally wanted to say, right?
Right.
But yeah.
I can't remember if I swear on it.
I don't want to dive into too much depth around the events I talk about, but just know it's specifically. There's one specific story that's the meat and potatoes of that verse.
Sure.
Again, includes, Wolf and I going on a drive.
and doing some things that kids did.
But yeah,
just leave it at that.
And doing that. But yeah, I mean, it's real, and it's actually like a real life account, almost, turn for turn in it. And it kind of reminds me of the part on Good Kid, Mad City, not the song, but the album, where Kendrick's, me and my people rode deep in a white Toyota, quarter tank of gas, one pistol and orange soda. Like, he's detailing the ride and the events that happened.
Right.
Like, that's kind of where this goes.
Gotcha.
That sounds like I'm comparing myself to a masterpiece album, but that's what the overall direction was.
Chief on Keef, busting tree down into a green line.
Yep.
That took me a while to get. I was like, what the hell is he talking about?
It's a very fancy way of saying something simple.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Put the gloves. I think I'm Eric Moulds.
Hometown reference. You
Fire.
did the same. Let's not disinclude anything you did though.
There's
a reason.
Why did you choose me for this song?
Yeah. So there's one male feature on the album. There's one rapper feature on the album. And you're both. And it's because I very much, and not that there's anything wrong with like the heavy feature stuff, but I very much appreciated, because when I was doing this was right on the time when Cole put out the no feature album,
Right.
which is something he continues to do. But yeah, I want to stay within a space of, it comes from the past of like working with people and stuff not getting done or stuff not being promoted or people just not taking the accountability that it takes to release a record and to deliver a record. And at the same time, it's a sense of I want to put somebody over. Like I want to shed a spotlight on someone I respect and appreciate. So let me give this person, why would I give it to anybody else? This person, you, done more for me than anybody else I could grab. Why not give them that opportunity to have, however many new listeners hear them, and then ideally go back to their stuff, and now we got a new fan. Right. So it's putting someone over.
Dope.
Who better than you?
Dope.
Yeah.
Track 9, How You Feel.
Yeah.
Back to a nice mellow vibe.
Yeah. Of the promo packages I've sent out, this is one of the 2 songs I give everybody.
Right.
That guitar that we keep talking about, and it's always the same vibe, on that guitar.
Right. It is.
That's that same area.
And that's what's really nice about this album is like you said, that same area, and you can like jump out the pocket and go rap and then come right back to this new
Yo,
one.
if it's out of sight, then it's out of mind. If you out of line, you can feel a 9 if you start with mine. My apologies, I ain't mean it personal. You feeling pain, homie, let me try to work with you. I got a big part and a bigger heart in my car heart. Feel the energy when I talk sharp. If it's dark, then I light the room. And if you knock, I'ma put a fucking spark in your life and zoom. And I be gone with the wind, lost again. Like 10 men tossed in the pen, Boston the pen, coast to coast. My pen strokes in this gin and coke, making me rock the damn boat. But I just float, ride this boat to a perfect storm. Yeah, and only God knows where I'm gone. How I'm flowing, been in love since I was a teenager, with no direction, just looking for attention. Yo, how you feel? Cold air, pair of boots, lace up your pair. Hope your heat working, hope you working. 10,000 hours, make sure you put the work in. Yo, how you feel? How you feel? How you feel? How you feel? Yeah. How you feel? How you feel? How you feel? How you feel? Come on. Hard body, the type to drink dark liquor or malt liquor. Red Bull make my heart quicker. Show me love, I'll part with you. Maybe stroll through the park with the Parker, pull apart swishers.
So, and I be gone with the wind, lost again, like 10 men tossed in the pen, Boston to pen. Crazy. I didn't know what you were saying, but then you told me it was Boston to pen, like Boston to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And that was your East Coast.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
Traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah. What really made you get in that pocket? Because like I said, like as soon as you started to pull in, how the flow is just ridiculous.
For me, How You Feel is the blue collar Buffalo, New York winter anthem.
Got you.
I'm in a routine of I'll work 9 to 5, not me personally, the vibe of this.
Right.
I'll work 9 to 5, 5 days a week. I bust my ass. It's freezing cold here. I'm tired of doing this work, but it's an acknowledgement of this is just what I do. This is the life I've created for myself, because I think a lot of Western New York lives in that space. So when you get to the hook, I think that's really cold air, pair of boots, lace up your pair.
Right.
Hope your heat working. Hope you working.
Right.
And it's just I want to appeal to that middle class that I've grown up around. And this is just me talking to them and acknowledging them and appreciating them and shouting them out and keep trucking. That's what this song is. And then that, what you just asked me though, ties into what I was telling you on this wave. It just pertains that the verses never compromise. Like that's what I'm doing on this, but I'm still gonna give you, the most elite verses that my pen can write.
Right.
And so that, just the mention of the different states or cities, whatever, that Northeast vibe is cold there. We're working there. We're blue collar there. And it's just the overall acknowledgement of, it's just a Northeast anthem.
Got you.
Yeah.
Second verse comes in, hard body, the type of drink hot dark liquor or malt liquor. Red Bull make my heart quicker.
Yeah.
Again, just going into that blue collar feel like you were talking about.
It's just real. Yeah.
It's everybody.
Yeah.
And Jenna Jameson, my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Hennessy and Jameson, I love him like a girlfriend.
Yeah.
What?
Right.
And then one more. Play the Earth, Wind, and Fire, paint a mural too. Let me put it in your back, epidural.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
like
you really can't say
it's
anything
just
about
hard.
it.
It's just an acknowledgement that it's hard, right?
Yeah, and that's what all I was doing. Like I
Yeah.
wrote these little quotables down here
Yeah.
just to like, really
And it's
bring it out more.
I think again, man, like not to keep hammering it home, but it's like it's a contrast. It's like we talk about this blue collar anthem, but like bars like that, they're very playful. So it's like we don't got to be so serious. Like why so serious, right?
Exactly. Let's get right into the next one. We're back to rap. It's called Run the Table.
Flame anybody, all you do is fan the flames. Ever since my first album, I kept my same name, no gimmicks and no gimmies. I want Grammys, yeah, walk with me now. Rep for Buffalo, where the fucking MCs are up. Got 16s like the C's on me, like I think I'm La Fontaine. So hip hop, that's an L with a glass of pain. I make you feel every ounce of my pain. I flame anybody, gasoline. Pass the gas to me, cause this what I do. And I got the juice, sipping brews with the fruits in it. I climb out the truck looking like a lieutenant. Looking like I do these beats, I rob anybody. Buffalo Bandit with the half mask, where the guns blast on the same corners that they have masks. My, how the tables are turned, huh? Can't walk on water, all your bridges are burned. Everything I gotta earn is why I rep this label. Got all my pieces in place out here, we about to run the table. We about to run the table.
Tracks like this you can hear like during this time, Greenhouse is still a thing.
We about to run the table. We about to run the table. That's the mainstream. This the underground. Said they make more money, but won't make a better sound. But nowadays, gotten hard to tell who's who. They spend their time and money on ways to deceive you. Fake plays, fake likes, all in the website to apps. They beefing in the comments, typing with caps. I remember when it was done on wax. The ciphers under the cipher, all the real from the fake shit. They Facebook famous, put the playlist second, only to their bullshit. That's why Kurt Cobain pulled it. Like the shotgun named at his brain, cause the oldest fame went bang boom. That's my frustration. Said FM.
Profound.
Yeah.
Profound. I let that play into the second because of the nowadays gotten harder to tell who is who and spend their time and money on ways to deceive you.
Reoccurring theme.
Yeah. Very important.
Yeah.
I actually touched on that before we got to this record earlier in this conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so many people buy their views, buy their plays, and they want to like pass it off like it's real.
Yeah.
It's like, bro,
don't do anything for
it's, it's obvious.
It's mature.
I didn't know if you knew or not.
It's a lack. It's a lack of awareness. It's a lack of staying power. If you would just take the time to do your research on how algorithms work, how social media works, and take that money out of buying plays, likes, comments, and put that money in advertisement, you will get more of a real reward.
Right.
But it comes down to people would rather have the 3-second gratification of somebody seeing me and thinks I'm doing well on social media than I'm actually doing well in real life.
Right.
Yeah. So that's just you just paint yourself as ignorant when you do that, in the sense of, and it's not meant to be ignorant like, oh, he's an asshole. It's meant to be like ignorant like you're not educated enough to know better, to know that doesn't help you in any way, and you just wasted your money.
Right.
And you could have been a lot more efficient with it, regardless if it was $10. You could have ran a $10 ad that would have done more for you than buying whatever you bought for $10.
Right. A lot more organic.
Yeah. These verses were originally written for a song that I produced. At the end of the day, just didn't get around to fully producing it, getting it to where I wanted it to be, having it sound like I wanted it to be. So I had these extra verses. It took them from that beat to this song, and this whole song is just Thanos.
Yeah, yeah.
Why Thanos? Ask me.
Why Thanos?
But 3 verses, I snap. So, and it's just me venting, and I do this 2-3 times throughout the album, just venting on everything I dislike about it. You hear the same exact CG reference that you heard on What a Ride. Remember how I told you those 2-3 streets had St. Lawrence Church on the corner?
Yeah.
I say the guns blast on the same corners that we had Mass. The East Side Buffalo, we're just shooting at each other, robbing each other, and there's a church from me to you.
Right.
We're on the steps, you know.
Right.
And that's just the violence that is East Side Buffalo. So it encapsulated that. You mentioned how it ties into the GHP era. Same thing I said about Wolf, I'm going to say about you. You probably don't even know this. You influenced this record. We were talking about, like, songs that were going to be on the GHP project or singles.
I remember those.
And you referenced something along the lines of Run the Table.
Yeah.
I don't think we had a hook. I don't think we had a beat. I don't think we had anything. I think
Yeah,
you just
it was
had
nothing. It was
I think you
that-
just had an
that
idea.
Because we were
And-
coming off
yeah,
of
and
Rap
from-
Tycoon.
Yeah, and for me, it was just a general sense of I'll take that.
Right. Hey, it's whatever. You should have that for free. This nation is a nation of sheep governed by wolves, enforced by swine.
Suits and ties.
Suits
Pages
and
of
ties.
lies.
Right.
But I'm
Animal
a
Farm.
ride tonight, though.
Animal Farm.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well
That's,
done. Incredible reference.
You did you read that? You read
course I
Animal
read
Farm.
that, yeah.
It's an American classic.
Yeah. Yeah, I think personally, I think the verses on that song are so good, but they're kind of uncharacteristic for me.
They are. It's an unorthodox flow when you
And
start
the
off
beat,
too.
I had so much to say, and I'm trying to pack it into this 16.
Right.
For one, and then for two, the beat is so aggressive that you lose the content that's underneath the beat.
Right.
Not everybody, but I think that'll be the general gist of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, yeah, I think I don't want to say anything further. I think that's where that's at. I think there's so much context, but the beat almost overpowers it. And that's my thought on that record.
Like a ghost, how I float on these rhythms. That's another thing you do too. Float on, walk on, glide on.
You're right.
Step.
I do that.
Yeah, a lot of and make references to how you do it and who you do it like.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But again, here's another standout. Along with that, nowadays gotten hard to tell. Powerhouse, greenhouse, yeah, we more like a slaughterhouse. So don't push my buttons. If you crooked eye, let the 9 fly. Through your Royce 5 times, have holes like the Yeezus line.
It's one of the hardest lines on the whole album, probably.
Would you say one of the hardest ones you ever wrote?
What I say in the world? I think it's cool because and again, like, you can tell that it was almost meant to be a GHP record because I'm comparing group to group.
Right.
I have a lot of admiration for Slaughterhouse and what they've done. I have a lot of admiration for how they rap, the pieces they picked, like, just top to bottom. I think they're extremely well done. And so it's more or less just like a shout out, but like, I remember writing that and just, that was like one, like, where you just stop writing and you're like, yo, because they like, it came together. Like, I was thinking, like, how can I incorporate them all? And, like, you know, so yeah. And then I also had to keep reworking it. I remember recording that verse and I kept missing, like, the verse would end and I still had more to say.
Yeah.
So I was like trying to figure out how to compact it back in there, compress it a little bit.
Right.
Like, what's the weakest line in the 16 that I can move? And yeah.
Nice. Track 11, Blessing. We're back to a chill vibe.
Yeah. Was originally like track 4 or 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It says well down here.
It's life.
Yep.
It's life. And I'm just laid up, posted up, scheming, dreaming.
A lot of soul. I feel like if you were watching me, it's in black and white. You know what I mean? Very classic.
Definitely with the poem. With the first poem is definitely black and white.
That I pray for is help. Walk with me, talk with me, life. Look, what a blessing. Look, I think back to the faster days and past the days. Amazed I ain't passed away. I'm waking up in the days and I'm glad to say I'm back today, bitch, and I'm back with flame. Bars are hard, I'm scarred and regardless, y'all. Largest flaw is for me that I hardly call. And my relief be the Marley, y'all. And you lame ass writers, this a call to y'all. Now how you really party hard when you hardly ball? I'm old school like a Marley Marl, come on. Yeah, this a flow for the hip-hop heads. And that Jelini with my wristwatches. I mean the Rolex, and I compose best. Everybody know it now. Poetry and rap by composition, I ain't holding back. I got a passion for the letters and shit. And I was raised in the East, shout out to Bad Boy and shit. And I'm just laid up, posted up, scheming, dreaming. Wild visions you see unattainable. Talk to believe and you put the work in. Pray for it, the more I give, the more I'ma receive. Believe in it.
Amazing hook.
Yeah.
Off rip.
Yep.
I think back to the faster days. What'd you say? And past. Cause I meant
back to the faster days and past the days, amazed I ain't passed away.
There we go.
Yeah.
What? How?
I think that song is one of those songs where it's like, I say this with gratitude and a sense of humbleness. Like, this is just a song that's like, as is, that's fantastic. There's nothing further I could do to that to make it any better.
Right. The flow, everything.
The hook is so unorthodox.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who is rapping, singing like that stylistically and from like a content standpoint?
Right.
Like, I'm expressing gratitude on the hook, like thanking God and like talking about like manifesting and visions but then we come in and we really rap. You know what I mean? We really rap, and you can hear me dating the song. Stay true to my team, like I'm Russell running with the Thunder. Right. I haven't played for them in two years, I think.
Right.
But then, you know, I take that and I reference, you know, I mentioned a lot of classic era rap, like I'm old school, like a Marley Marl, you know, and then without saying the name, I come off that Russell Westbrook lyric. Last week I fuck around. I think I got a triple double. You know, that's an Ice Cube reference.
Right.
So yeah, it's a vintage feel. It's a black and white classic feel, and it's got classic references throughout it. It's a really cool record.
Word. You talk about classic feel and classic records. Right in the number 12 classic.
What a transition, man.
Yeah. This one's nice. It's like you keep the slower vibe on this. You trick the listener a little bit.
Yeah.
Classic man, he's a classic man. I'll be button up, dressed to the nines and nice with the pen. I walk on these beats, I'm Sinatra. Way I talk on these beats, I'm classic man. He's a classic man. I'll be button up, dressed to the nines and nice with the pen. I walk on these beats, I'm Sinatra. Way I talk on these beats, flow nice, pen sharp. I dress it up like I'm Tony, no phony. Genuine and I ride the beat like a pony. Buttoned up, hanging out the whip, flow like a Tommy gun. I'm a mobster, smoke like a roster, rolling with P. And I be dripping like the sauce, oozing off the side of your steel hot plate of pasta. Warriors with the roster, building not to fear the golden gate. But I burned all my bridges, trying to make these words mean more and learn what it means to really be riches. Cause it ain't in your account, but deep down in your soul. And my pockets got holes like the flaws in a lot of your logic. I don't say it just to talk shit, I call it cause I'm a prophet. We'll fill the alcoholics and fiends. Every single person at one time had a wild dream. We all walk our own paths, fighting our own demons. Classic man, he's a classic man. I'll be button up, dressed to the nines and nice with the pen. I walk on these beats, I'm Sinatra. Way I talk on these beats, I'm classic man. He's a classic man. I'll be button up, dressed to the nines and nice with the pen. I walk on these beats, I'm Sinatra. Way I talk on these beats,
How I walk on these beats, I'm Sinatra. Way I talk on these beats, who were you gonna say?
What do you mean?
You said I walk on these beats like Sinatra, and I talk on these beats like, yo.
it's Sinatra. It's so one, Sinatra is an ode to my grandpa.
Okay.
Who passed as his favorite artist. You know, I bought his, you know, album for that reason, you know, best of, greatest hits, whatever it was, Sinatra. He's got the blue background and he's in the suit, and I'm a big fan of that look. And
as we can see.
Yeah, and I try to portray that. This was an effort to portray in a sense of audio something physical, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to portray to you a look through sound. And that was the gist of the hook. And it's like I get this visualization in my head of like a black and white suit with like a, you know, clean cut hair and like these black shiny shoes. And the beat is like a physical thing. Like the beat, remember those keyboards you walk on when you step on it, it'll light up?
Yeah.
I got like a guy's got like a mic in his hand, it's just like this. Like this is the beat right here, and the guy just walking on it. But it's such a clean walk.
Right.
It's such a clean look.
Right.
And then for whatever reason, I didn't really have any direction to the verse. Like it wasn't like, I'll rap about suits by any means. I just rapped what came to me, which is how I usually write. And I think if there's any, I think if you could put a hole in my writing style, I think a lot of times it's just whatever. You know, it's not necessarily like, if this is the topic, spend 3 verses talking about it. 'Cause I don't know if I can give you 3 verses about any topic. You know? But it's like just whatever comes to mind and writes itself for this verse is what's going there, regardless of how, you know, if it stays within that topic, right?
Right.
And for whatever reason, this just came to be like very reflective of like not necessarily my life, but like just a reflective of like people's vices and just things that are wrong in the world for whatever reason. And yeah, I mean, there's not I didn't, you know, not to discredit it, but I didn't spend a lot of time on this track. I think I do think it serves its purpose. That's really it.
Got you. Flow nice, pen sharp. I dress it up like I'm Tony. No phony.
Yeah.
Genuine, and I ride the beat like a pony.
That was one of those, put the pen down, do a lap around the room, and sit back down and get back
Do a lap
get back
around
to
the room.
work.
Dress up like I'm Tony.
Because Montana.
Okay, just making sure.
And then you know, I'm genuine, and I ride the beat like a pony.
Gotcha.
You know, that's them. You know, what more can you say about that?
Warriors with the roster build it.
Building not to fear the Golden Gates. Their logo is the Golden Gate.
Right.
You know, wow.
And I burned all my bridges.
Yeah, we talked about that already.
So what, like, do you feel like bridges you actually have burnt where you could not
I don't think
even use the Army Corps engineers to get it back up?
Yeah, I think when I say that, it's just like this general sense of it's not necessarily bad business, like I can't do business with that person again. It's just this general sense of like I'm a stubborn person and I don't like something you did or something was wrong.
Yeah,
like it might not even be related to anything we're doing. We might have talked at a bar and I noticed a flaw in something in like your values or something and it didn't align with me. So it's just like this general like anti anybody who doesn't
fit the mold.
Yeah, but at the same time I don't want to sound, you know, arrogant. Like it's just this general sense of I don't need anybody. And if you try to play me, if you try to overcharge me, whatever,
right.
It's anything like that. It's like, no, I'll just keep this in house and you can do your own thing, you know? But yeah, I mean, that was just a quick bar. Like I don't want that one bar to overwhelm the general feel of the song.
Gotcha. Classic, talking about classic fits, high rap, not high rap fashion and all that. Well done. Track 13.
Hey yo, I kick shit that we start a mosh pit. Kick shit to incite a riot. Everyone around push security, can't stop it. I got a shotty and cock shit. I wanna get so rich that everything I drop, I cop it. I drop it, that's the top on the new whip. They be like cool whip, spray cans like it's cool whip. Mouth automatic clips on these 2 lips. Flip shit like a swanton bomb. My cheek, my piece, so my mind is gone. This that 90s shit, then I might as well be Sean John. Got the sun in my set like it's dawn.
Excuse me? Got the sun in my set like it's dawn. Whoa.
Sparks, yeah, now you know beyond. AJ on the drums and your boy on the beat. They coming with the bangers and I'm coming with the heat. They can talk that shit till I pull up with a fleet. Yeah. Bang like a shotty, bang like bazooka. You listening to me, then you listen to the future. Used to pay rip, I push your weight like sumo. The kids nickel and dime, those moving Yokozuna. Push the front end up like hydraulics. Think I'm on the west coast listening to Chronic. I promise, I draw this to the shit get sketchy. I'ma take what I want, y'all gon' fucking let me. Look, whack a ball, light up the lamp like Gretzky. Flexing, I'm out here. Who that Ric Flair? The boy with the pen by your hand, follow me there. Swallow your fear. With the weapons, I quit my gear. I'll quit who's near. I'm coming there. I'm coming there. I'm coming, yeah. I'ma cock it. Click, click. Y'all can't fuck with my click, click. It's lit, lit. This my grind. I bang like a shotty, like a shot. This what I do. Try to boy. You'll get bodied. You'll get bodied. Getting high. Watching time fly. Getting by. Get high. I get high. Get high. Now get high. This my grind. I bang like a shotty, like a shot. This what I do. Try to boy. You'll get bodied. You'll get bodied. Getting high.
So, like a shoddy too.
Punchlines galore.
Right.
Very, very Fab-esque.
Right. I'm gonna take what I want. Y'all gonna fucking let me.
Yeah.
Then you go, look. Whack-a-ball light up the lamp like Gretzky. I'm flexing out here. Who that, Ric Flair?
Yeah, it's very punchline heavy.
Yeah.
I never. So again,
braggadocio.
I'll produce this to a degree. So we talked about like a shoddy 1. This is like a shoddy 2.
Right.
I gave AJ the skeleton for Like a Shoddy 1, and he added the drums that you hear all over this one. He changed the tempo, I think, and like got that
added
back.
Fire.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah.
Like a real.
I got
fire,
that back, and I was like, yo, like this is like absolutely a beat I need to use, but it's like a Shoddy 1 is not flawed in any way, so I'm not gonna replace it.
Right.
So then it got to the point where I was just like, yo, I've done a part 1 and a part 2, but I've never done them on the same album with the same person.
Right.
Like, and I thought that was a cool idea. And like obviously I had the idea like one's gonna be towards the beginning, one's gonna be towards the end. So yeah, it was just a really good, just an opportunity to do something new. We didn't listen to or mention your verse, but you absolutely do your thing on your verse. They complement each other very well.
Pulling on the first voice you hear on this one.
Yeah, so it's very you deliver a very memorable verse on this. One of your better pieces of work. Come off that nice, and yeah, that's it. It's just a rap your ass off record.
Right. So we got the next one, 14, What I Am.
Yeah, interesting.
Back to a mellow vibe.
This is a one of a kind per my library.
Right.
Per my catalog.
Definitely. We'll speak about what that means after this.
This is what I am, it's all I'll ever be. Don't ever doubt the world, it's how it's meant to be for us. This is what I am, it's all I'll ever be. Yeah, this is what I am. Yeah, this is what I am. Yeah, this is what I am, it's all I'll ever be. Don't ever doubt the world, it's how it's meant to be for us. Yeah, this is what I am, it's all I'll ever be. Yeah, this is what I am. Yeah, this is what I am.
I ain't too different from y'all. Grew up in a small town where I had to milk cows, went to school, they could smell it on my clothes. Came home, had to tend to the land I sown. Man, at the house, my pops passed the 8 of a stroke. I come from a strong family, they were all Navy, so I followed in their footsteps, trying to make them proud. Endowed with the warrior spirit, I enlisted while in high school as soon as I could. Can't say at the time that my mind was all good. I wanna stack bodies, let these motherfuckers know not to try me. My dad killed Nazis, right around the same time as kamikazes. He never got me, war hard in his soul. I can't blame him, all this death takes its toll, I know. I remember my first kill, we were scaving doors, clearing floors. Turned the corner, there he was. I didn't have time to reach my gun, but I had brass knuckles on, so I beat the man right to death. To this day I still see his face, never left. That's the price of freedom, but still, it's...
This is what I am, it's all.
So what I am, obviously, that's not you.
No, it's not.
Tell a little bit about how that came together, and also the thought behind it.
What I Am is one of those songs that I'd like to think every artist has in their catalog and their library, where it's like you got your finished album and you're listening back to it, and you got those 1 or 2 joints where you're like, I'm not sure that this should be on the album.
Right.
But in the past, what I've realized when I've felt like that, it was because it made me feel uncomfortable, not because I didn't think it wasn't
Like a good song.
Yeah, it made me feel uncomfortable. But I also know that when I feel uncomfortable, I'm growing. I know that. So it was this sense of I portrayed myself in a whole new light. I told somebody else's story third person. This person had asked me to do it. The American soldier is going to relate to this and love this, is glorifying them. To cut this off would be doing my listeners a major disservice.
Right.
Is it something that's going to slap next to Forever when you're riding around in the summer? No, but that's not what it's meant to be,
right.
It's that song, how it came to be. When I lived in West Seneca, South Buffalo border, I had a neighbor who was like a 55-year-old Army vet, and he had asked me, him and his girlfriend at the time, had asked me to do a song telling his story. So we sat in his basement, the 3 of us, polished off like a 24-pack of bottled blue lights, and I sat there with computer paper and a red ink pen, and I just said, tell me the story. And we sucked on beers while he told the story. He cried, we laughed, everything. And I just left there with 4 or 5 pages of notes, because I was like, I can't tell your story if I don't know your story.
Right.
I mean, I can make one up, but that's not doing anyone a service. That's not going to make for the best music. So I took that home, and this was one of those songs that wouldn't write itself. I sat on it for probably a year. I had a library of beats, I always do, that are unused, and I had like concepts like titles or like ideas of songs. And I remember I was studying for a financial industry test at the time, and I'm sitting at my desk. Ava had gone to my mom's house. My girl was at work. I was just home alone. It's like mild out, and I just remember sitting there. It was like 11, 12 o'clock. And I'm sitting at the desk, and for whatever reason, like, it just came to me, like, how to deliver this. And then I remembered I had this beat, and I was like, yo, that's because when you're thinking of, like, a war story, like, that beat is not what was coming to mind, right? Like, at all. But then I was like, yo, this actually fits. So I wrote it to there, and I just remember being so excited that because I was sitting on it for so long, like, the idea, and I knew I had to get it done because he was, like, asking me for it. He's like, can I hear it? Where is it at? So finally, I just remember being so excited. Like, I didn't study it all that day, but I remember being so excited that I got this on paper and I now had the song. So that's how it came to be, and it's a true story. You talk about the guy's first kill and killing someone with his bare hands. Like, we talk about that. We talk about how he still sees that person's face on a day-to-day basis, like essentially haunting him.
Right.
Talk about the reasons he enlisted, and how, again, the vulnerability of an acknowledgement of how his head was admittedly in the wrong space. I want to stack bodies. Let these motherfuckers know not to try me.
Right.
Now he's in a space of, I can't believe I killed that many people. Holy shit.
Right.
At the time, it was like, oh, like, I'm gung-ho, I'm a badass. Let me show you I'm a badass.
Right.
And we just talk about his evolution. And we get to the second verse, and we talk about him going to jail and trying to be forgiven for all the people he's killed. And it's a wild story, and I just hope I did it, the best service I could have. And I'm proud of the record. I'm really proud of the record. I think it's certainly unique. I don't have any songs like that.
What did that guy say about it?
He cried all over himself.
Yeah. Shout out to him, though.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
providing the story.
Absolutely.
To be able to have that translated into music is, I'm sure, very touching to him.
Yeah, and my like vision for that song is, we talk about centerpieces of the album. This is not a centerpiece of the album, but what this is it's 4th of July, summer 2020, and I put this out on Facebook or YouTube.
I feel like it's a necessary
it's an appreciation. Yeah, and it's appreciation for the American soldier,
Right.
Yeah, I think it's like a very Joyner Lucas song.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, for sure. It's track 15, the title track.
Yeah.
Finally get to it. Tears of Waves.
That guitar's back.
And we stay mellow.
It's like
mellow.
It's like when I was recording, I was sitting with a guitar player, and like every other song he chimes in, like
right.
I remember recording this, and I took it off, but on the intro, I would say, congratulations, AJ, you're producing a fucking classic.
Yo, before we get into this more, who sung the hook on that last one?
Same girls on both of these.
Oh, okay.
Back to back. Her name's Megan Marie.
Dope.
I used to work at a church. She used to sing in the church choir. Essentially, had the vibe of, let's link. And I love, even though I touched on like not having a lot of features on this project, I love collaborating with people. More so people outside of rappers than rappers. Like, I love, like, because it brings a level of creativity to it. Like, if I'm gonna get a rapper, I'm gonna get back a 16-bar verse, and you pretty much know what to expect. Right. Bring in someone like that, like, it's like what you can do and what I can do are two totally different spaces. Right. So it really adds some diversity to the songs. She did her thing.
Yeah, it's like, why you living day to day? Never making plans for the future till you fade away. Better raise your hand if you're looking for the answers, though. Everybody born with that motherfucking antidote. I'm zoned in now, I got my vision in a scope. Catalog of poetry, I'm feeling like D'Angelo. Clouds of the smoke and the vino got my eyelids low. Passionately waiting for my name to be in the Grammy envelope. Yo, my daughter always growing, and she keep on showing me the reason for the flow, and she the reason I continue all this hustle. You know it, I ain't never slowing down. In a money tree, I plan it growing now. If it's written, nobody listen till they missin', dissin'. All that other shit, I keep a vision of the right path. It's a long road, but the left, watch the right right hand, I'm yelling greenhouse. Now what the floor plan?
I've struggled so long, turned tears to waves. I know now, better days are not far away. Penned home, shapes the words with the things I say. Wipe your eyes, don't cry, turn tears to waves. I've struggled so long, turned tears to waves. I know now,
Her
better
vocals
days are not
complement
far
yours
away.
very well.
The beat is so simple that it leaves a lot of room for the vocal to breathe.
Yeah, it's like I spent my whole life living.
My voice sounds really raw. Like, I love how my voice sounds on this.
Right.
Came to pay, so the games we play, round and round we go every day. Caught up in the system till all of our ambitions fade. You can tell I'm jaded.
So on this one,
Very personal.
right,
To a degree.
flow is crazy. Again, you keep that same. It's almost like you have like pockets that you can go into. It's like this extreme flow. It's like the smoothest thing you've ever heard since like whipped butter. And then you got like, vintage you in general, just like that raw, like
Climbing out of big
punch
trucks,
you in the
walking on
face,
things. Yeah.
Right. Right. Climbing out of trucks, walking on. but very, very factual though. Like
Yeah.
that's
No, I know what
literally
you're
what I was. Yeah. How do you kind of like manage those two?
I think.
And like when do you know when to pull them out?
So it's an evolution, right? So the back end of the album, you hear a lot of references to Ava, my daughter, and
Right.
again, that's a time thing. Whereas like over the course of years, she's grown up, she's become more influential on the things I'm saying, because there was a time when I had to realize everything I'm saying now, she's going to eventually hear.
Of course.
So
And everything you've ever said.
right. So I became aware of that, and you and I talked about it. I went through an identity crisis for a long time,
Right.
because I work in a very business forward professional space outside of music. I got my daughter, and it's like I got to make sure I'm saying the right things, portraying the right image, and it's really hard to juggle. And it really did become a genuine identity crisis, where I thought about changing my name. I thought about hiding my identity to the point where I was wearing a mask, like. And it was never because I'm embarrassed of what I'm doing by any means. It was just a sense of I can almost be that person further if I disguise him.
Right.
But then I thought about the idea of losing my back catalog, which I spent years and tens of thousands of dollars on. And I didn't want to do that. And then secondly, I just wanted, it was like a conscious decision of, I don't want to lose who I am because of anybody else. I can still be me, the rapper, and be a father. I can still be me, the rapper, and run a business. And it's like, if it hasn't been done before, that's not a bad thing. It's like, okay, let me show you how we do this. Let me show you so people see moving forward how we juggle these things. And it was, I flirted with the idea of like maybe some of these songs like a Shoddy, maybe that doesn't go on here because of the things I say on there.
Right.
But it's like, no, I don't need to hide who I am, or I had a conversation with my managing director at the firm I work for when we were in Milwaukee one night or one day even. I don't remember what time of day it was, but I remember telling him, like, I'm sitting on a finished album. I want to release it. I've always released it under my real name. And much to his credit, he was like, didn't ask me like what I say, anything like that. It's like, is it you? I'm like, yeah, of course it's me, So put it out. He's like, I was like, okay. That was it,
Right.
That was it. I was like, all right, say no more.
Right.
Yeah, so I think the song now, whereas we talk about how you feel being like the blue collar struggle anthem, this one is kind of like that, but it's a lot more personal. Like, these are my trials and tribulations. And it's like, it's a balancing act and a juggling act of, here's everything I'm struggling with, but meanwhile, I have all these things going right. So it's like struggling but grateful for the struggle, I guess.
Right.
Or the things that are going right throughout the struggle.
Right.
Is the overall gist of it. And it becomes a little more cheery because it's like, and then the opposite, like, you'll see the next track, like we dip back down to tears, then we go back to waves. Like, you described it as like, oh, this is aggressive, and then this is a little more upbeat. It's like, oh, no, one's the tears, one's the waves. Like, we keep going back and forth, tears to waves the whole time. And it's like, yeah. And it's just this overall sense of, it's like this overall sense of optimism. Like, yeah, this these 4 things are broken right now, but you know what? Next month they're going to be fixed, and we're going to be rolling.
Right.
And the month after that, we can do even better than that. It's just like an optimistic feel to it, I feel like.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I feel like it's overall one of the more popular songs on the album.
From the stuff that you were sending out. You
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. Better raise your hand if you're looking for the answers, though. Everybody born with that motherfucking antidote. What do you mean by antidote?
Everybody's born with the answer.
Okay.
Everybody has the answer.
Right.
If you don't have the answer, keep asking for it. Keep living, and your experiences, divine intervention, the universe is going to deliver it to you. That is a very diverse / simplistic way of me having an awareness that, people say, we talk about flashes of greatness. We talk about inspiration. Like, I've been thinking about, say, for example, I've been thinking about doing something for a month, but I didn't know how to do it, or I didn't know how I wanted to do it. All of a sudden, one night, I'm chilling, watching TV, playing Xbox. It just comes to me. Oh, shit, I just had a flash of greatness. Oh, shit, it just came to me.
Right.
You didn't have a flash of greatness. It didn't just come to you, to a degree. You've been asking for that answer, and the universe finally just gave it to you. There's nothing happened in your brain where it solved itself while you were playing NHL on Xbox. The universe decided, okay, you're ready for it. Here's the answer.
Gotcha.
And you're like, oh, shit, that is the answer. Why didn't I think of that already?
Gotcha.
It's, I know it's a very wordy answer, but that's what it breaks down to, yeah.
I'm zoning in now. I got my vision Interscope, catalog of poetry. I'm feeling like D'Angelo.
Bars.
You saying Interscope or Interscope, like the record label?
I'm saying both for that reason.
All right, that's what I thought. It was a double entendre. Nice.
I'm zoned in now. I got my vision in a scope. Like, I got my vision. I see what my vision is, but I got my vision Interscope. I got my vision is to get signed to a record label, a big record label. Right. Do I want to get signed to Interscope? I mean, if they're watching, like, yes, but I will. But it's like I don't want to put them on a pedestal though. Like, if I was to list record labels, they're not my number one.
Right. It's just
yeah, but it's just it fit. Yeah.
Got you. And then like this what I'm going to say goes with what you said about the antidote. I always knew. I asked the universe, it's coming true.
Exactly. Yep.
And there it is.
Yeah.
Track 16, another flame emoji. We're just going to go ahead and play this. I don't really have a lot.
We'll go back to the tears.
Yeah, I
to a degree.
have a lot to say about this one, except for this is one of those tracks where
for me the standout point of Dear Diary, ironically enough, is the last verse, for sure. Because I touch on Ava, and I just remember riding in my car playing it, and she always be like, "That's me," and like that lights me up,
Yeah.
But the transition, the way it ends, and then pulls into our outro.
Right.
Like, it ends very angelic, and it's like I picture it like me standing at the end of a dock, gray skies, gray scenery, and like the waves are crashing up, and it's like very reflective. Like, oh shit, like you just put these 16 songs together. It's like an appreciation for that. It's like an awareness of that. And then 17 pulls it on top of that, just slaps you across the face.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do right here. We're going to play the last verse, and then we're going to roll right into So Far From, which is the last song. Cool. So here we go.
The broom pad of doom when the verse forms on these spaces. I'ma lace this, believe that. Dear diary, the pen you inspire me. Used to sexy to me, feel that desire in me. Come get high with me, feel that fire in me. You the light to my city, reason I am living. No fear, oh, I dread the day, dread the night that you don't call. So small, how I feel in this world. Be my girl, in my life. Yo, this flow so potent, it be draped in venom. That's all I done it for, lost more than I ever cashed in. Doing this since way back when I didn't have a daughter, girl, or the pressure of the world just sitting on my shoulders. It's so cold here, now Ava's sitting on my shoulders. See my breath in the cold air, see my life in her brown pair. A beautiful lies, this world's a beautiful lie. Materialize, manifest everything I want. When that day comes, you will see this is not a front. On the hunt, the pursuit, the chase. Just a nomad wandering, can't stay in one place, but you can stay in my heart. Just please don't tear me apart. I beg you, plead with you, I'm at your mercy. Rep the team that is on the front of my jersey. I'm more than worthy, I've loved you since day one.
think that's Sean Devine. Also, shout out Sean Devine.
Definitely.
Masterful work up and down. Or maybe Cinema. One of the two.
Next one is definitely Cinema.
Yes.
Who is that, Dido?
Which way will I take? Which road will bring me back to my thousand pathways? So far from where I wanna be.
Yeah, I was gone, I was living wrong. And every morning I would write a song. And every night I would pour a couple cups, maybe light the bomb. I recognized the need to right my wrongs, but I came up with dreams of being famous. And I ain't finna change up, keep everything A1. I'ma do it for my name, son. I traded blunts for some weighted dips, and traded liquor for a day with kids. You in my shoes, probably argue with your latest bitch, yelling how you miserable and hate this shit. Hustle hard and raise your paper quick. Navy suits with a tailored fit, a couple cars and some acreage. Yeah, nobody do for you what you ain't doing. No sympathy for you if your life is in ruins. You ain't ruined unless you thinking wrong. And when I'm tripping, let me ink a song, and I'll be thinking strong. Yeah.
Which way will I take? Which road will bring me back to my thousand pathways? So
Who is that on the hook?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I
That was
couldn't
just
tell
one
you.
of those.
I think
Joints that came with
what's gonna happen. I have a video deal in place to put this song out as a video, and I think what you're gonna see happen is you're gonna see this get re-recorded, clean, like from a edit standpoint. They're gonna change the cuss words or edit out the cuss words. Gonna see a new person get assigned to that hook to sing it.
Right.
And then you'll probably see like a radio version be made, and where my outro, which is essentially like a prayer, is going to be taken off for video purposes.
Right.
But that's what's next for that. That song, far and away, has the best reception of any song I've ever made.
Yeah, like this one's special.
Yeah.
Both verses and the hook, the feel of it, everything. You wrapping the album up, the prayer.
Yeah.
It brings everything together in a nice little bow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a here you go.
Absolutely.
It leaves you wanting more too.
Yeah.
Like, damn, what's next from this dude? He just gave us 17 tracks of pure unadulterated fire.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking for the next one.
That song
I hope it's not 5 years in the future.
That song is everything for me right now.
Yeah.
The entire trajectory of not only my life in the sense of music, but my life in general is being burdened, is on the shoulders of that record.
Right.
Like, there's just an overall awareness of like, yo, this is the one. How do we let the world know now what is happening on this? What happened on this? And then furthermore, once we let the world know what happened on that, how do we let them know what happened on the other 16? That's really where we're at. To put a bow on this thing, man, Tears to Waves for me. And I mean, I don't want to dumb myself down or play small for anybody's benefit. The reality is, Tears to Waves can be for me what The Heist was for Macklemore, what Good Kid, Mad City was for Kendrick Lamar.
Right.
That's how I see it. I think there's no reason, given the content, that can't chart on Billboard, even hit #1 on Billboard.
Of course.
I think there's songs that there's no reason why they can't chart on Billboard, hit #1 on Billboard. However, that's unprecedented territory for me and Buffalo as a whole. And it's on me, back to me now, to make the right moves to get it from A to B. How do we get it from A to B? I don't know the answer. I'll be honest, I don't know the answer.
Right.
But am I going to invest the time and money and effort to get it there? Absolutely. Because I feel like the things we're passionate about, it's not random. There's a reason that at going on 32 years old next week, music still calls to me all hours of the day. That's not random, right? Same reason someone else is called to computers. You know, that's not random. They're meant to be in that space.
Right.
So to have the utmost fulfillment in my life, and I've realized this, I have to be involved in music. And I still think I'm not even running. Like the car hasn't even been shifted into full gear yet.
Right.
The trajectory I see for myself is, having this being acknowledged as an all-time classic album. I say that with every sense of realness. I know it sounds outlandish. Have it being acknowledged as an all-time classic album. Having it affect people all across the globe.
Mm-hmm.
And then where we go from after that, I'm writing that story right now, but that's the space I'm in.
Right, got you. I just want to play this piece because this is one of the favorite parts on the whole album for me, personally.
About my life, but I created my gift. When I'm writing in my notebook and I'm lighting a spliff, and when I'm high as a cliff, then I admire the pain inside of my brain, combining like the fire and rain. Yeah, ain't no reason for the crying though. Don't let me catch you feeling sorry for the lying, yo. You either trying or you lying, either crawling or you climbing. If you all in, it's surprising, all the ball instead of grinding. Then I'm proud of you all, but it's still a middle finger if it's drama involved. Sound of New York, the passion got me rhyming again, but I ain't never going back to eating ramen again. Nah.
Which way will I take? Which road will bring me back to my thousand pathways?
That
That's it,
was,
man.
yeah, that's it. That's Tears to Waves, ladies and
Tears to
gentlemen.
Waves. That was a lot of fun. That was certainly the most in-depth lesson I've done. You made me realize things about my own work, about my own writing,
Nice.
and I appreciate the time you put into getting to know that album.
Of course. And this is what anybody can expect if they choose to do a run interview. So
Cool. Well
you're
done,
You're
man.
the one who decided to do that
Yeah.
and take
It's
that
necessary.
executive.
It's
Yeah,
necessary,
right,
yeah.
exactly. You don't want to sit here and talk to me about dinosaurs. It's like that's
I
not
will.
what we're
I'll be
doing
back.
today. Yeah, we'll be back at some
I'll
point.
bring Ava for that one. She'll love to.
Yeah, definitely.
Appreciate you having me. Awesome platform.
Definitely.
Again. And
thank you for coming on.
of course, man.
One thing I have to say about this could have been an album where you had like an A side and a B side type of thing,
Thought about it.
but you mixed it. You could have had Tears and you could have had Waves.
Thought about it.
But you mixed it, and I feel like it was a better feel across the board.
Mm-hmm.
You took your listener on a roller coaster ride. You had ups and downs.
Yep.
You laugh, you cry, things like that. You get in the
People aren't
groove.
doing 17 tracks anymore. It's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, no, because the listenership is too, it's too low.
They want 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, and they want like a minute 40.
Yeah, well, I'm going to give you The
songs.
Irishman. It's 3.5 hours long. Just
Right.
kidding. It's like
There
an
you
hour
go.
long. But yeah.
Right. I know what you mean. Yeah. The long form.
Yeah.
It's an hour and 1 minute, by the way.
Beauty. Perfect for a quarantine.
Exactly. So take your time, listen to it. It's out right now on all DSP streaming sites, wherever you get your music from. This is Paul Athoe. This is Tears to Waves. Man, thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Of course, man.
All right, we'll see you.